And Rice will be the hitter. Red Sox-Yankees drama.
A great test for Chapman.
And a little trickler up the first base line. Chapman gets to it, throws, and got him to end the ball game.
Every Friday from 3:05 to 4 on 14 WILI and 95.3 FM. It's the Friday Sports Scene with Keith and Koivisto. Talking local sports every Friday. Getting you ready for the weekend and what lies ahead. High school sports, UConn, ECSU, and more. The Friday Sports Scene with Keith and Koivisto is brought to you by your local Dunkin' stores. Route 32 South Windham, 1015 Main Street, Willimantic, 1575 West Main Street, and 407 Jackson Street. The Friday Sports Scene. Now, here's Keith C. Rice and Jan Koivisto.
And, of course, that was Dave O'Brien at the top there on Nesson. Red Sox actually win a game at home with a rally from behind. Go figure, which hasn't probably happened all year against the first-place Yankees of all teams. So, anyway, Keith C. Rice here, the coach, Jan Koivisto for the Chronicle off this week. Nick Erlinson back in here. Welcome back, Nick.
Hello.
How was your week off? What'd you do? Keeping busy? What's new in the world of Nick Erlinson?
Not a whole lot, actually.
Besides that, what do you drink? What's that Dunkin' drink? Is that a new 4th of July special there?
That's the Dazzleberry Coolata.
The Dazzle, let's point it right to the camera there. Which, if you're listening in Radio Land, you got to go back and watch this show on the WILI Radio YouTube channel. Just search WILI Radio.
It's like a fancy blue raspberry with marshmallow.
Very 4th of July, very festive
sparkles.
looking.
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
Okay, so just one of the many tasty things you can get on the Dunkin' menu these days. And, of course, that's why we call it the Dunkin' Friday Sports Team. Big thanks to our local Dunkin'. We'll get to that in just a sec. But, yeah, the Red Sox, unbelievable. Especially flying back from Denver Wednesday night. I was a little shocked. I kept thinking, they usually have that day off coming back from a West Coast trip, and then they open up a homestand Friday night, whatever. Well, they open up a 4-game weekend series with the Yankees last night, probably feeling a little effects from the flight from Denver and losing 2 out of 3 to a team that's right next to them in the overall Major League standings. Yes, the Rockies are the worst team in baseball. One team up are the Red Sox. So the Red Sox and Rockies, who knows, could be fighting for that number 1 draft pick. Never thought I'd say that. But I was telling you before the show, the way the Red Sox lost 2 of those 3 games in Colorado was unbelievable. Unbelievable to the worst team in baseball. And go figure, last night they come home. They face a guy in Cam Schlittler who is basically unhittable this year. We had the game out at Trolley during Trolley Pub Trivia, and I'm thinking, here we go, 2-0 Yankees. And all of a sudden I see 4-2 Red Sox, and I turn to a couple Yankee fans, they'll blow this. And they didn't.
Well, maybe they adjusted to the altitude being normal again, so their bats woke up. And
yeah, it's just like, and you said, you brought up a good point, a lot of their runs were unearned, right?
Yep.
Jesus. And Chapman, who's been really shaky, especially in the Colorado series, as you heard Dave O'Brien at the top there, Yankees had bases loaded, and Goldschmidt was up of all people, and who's been hammering the ball, especially against lefties. And Monasterio made the error there, but anyway, the Red Sox hold on to win somehow, 6-3. Don't get too excited, Sox fans, because they'll probably lose the next 3 in a row to the Yankees. And what can you do? I mean, I can't say I'm shocked that they come back from a terrible series in Colorado and pull that off last night.
Yeah, miracles happen sometimes. Maybe they'll win all the rest of the games this rest of the year.
Yeah, that's a little much.
What's in this thing?
Yeah, I know. What is in that thing? Anyway, you're distracting me with that drink. Now, what's it called again?
A Dazzleberry. The
Dazzleberry. Yeah. That's good, doesn't it, Matt?
Yeah, it does.
Jeez, I got to come in one of those. I always say I got to try those refreshers, but just as boring as Jan usually is with his black iced coffee. I always go with the Dunkin' Latte, which is fantastic.
I had the peanut butter Dunkin' Latte the other day. It was pretty
good.
They
have a peanut butter Dunkin' Latte?
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm going to try that. Matt, what do you usually choose off the Dunkin' menu? Now we're speaking Dunkin' right off the
regular
top.
Coffee, man.
Just regular coffee?
Yeah.
Are you a coffee guy anyway? I didn't even know you.
A little bit.
A little bit? Okay. We'll get to J. Matt Rupar, the voice you just heard. He's got Homegrown coming up at 4:05 following the Dunkin' Friday Sports Scene, WILI. We'll start with the rundown. We'll tell you about our guests. And we mentioned the Red Sox did beat the Yankees last night 6-3 at Fenway. Sox are now 33-46 as they send Peyton Tolley to the mound tonight at 7-10. Tolley is 3-5 with a 3.08 ERA. Yankees will counter with Will Warren, who's 7-2 and a 3.45 ERA. 6:10 pregame on WILI. Mets coming off a disastrous series at home against the Cubs, almost as bad as the Red Sox out in Colorado. And this morning, it was the end of their manager, Carlos Mendoza, who finally got fired. Mets will welcome in the Phillies this evening at Citi Field. FIFA World Cup, U.S. men's national team lost late to Turkey last night, 3-2 out in Los Angeles. I think Nick and I were just talking. We both stayed up till it was like 2-2, and I just said I'm not going to hang out for the end of this. It's not a big deal that they lost because
they said a few of their players that had yellow cards and stuff because they wanted to keep them available so they wouldn't get another yellow card and get suspended or whatever.
Good point. Turkey. The game meant more to Turkey. It's weird. It's Turkey or Turkey. You could say anyway. It meant more to them than the United States, who won't play again until Wednesday against Bosnia in the round of 32. Willimantic American Legion. We had General Manager Paul Martineau on last week. They had a couple ugly losses to Danielson earlier in the week. They're now 0-4. They'll play Ellington under the lights tonight at Palmer Field in Middletown. WNBA, Connecticut Sun home for Washington tonight. And, we'll talk a little about now before we get ready to welcome in our first guest. We also got to talk about what's coming up on Homegrown. But quick reaction to a big topic this week, the whole Caitlin Clark thing. Alyssa Thomas finally gets suspended. And I'm sorry, Caitlin Clark's been taking a beating, and she shouldn't be. Everything she's done for that WNBA, finally something has happened as far as or action was taken, right? As far as Caitlin Clark getting beat up on the court.
Yeah, she gets hit worse than the guys in the NBA do. They seem like they must be bigger babies, or they're just looking the other way. But she gets hit and stuff, and I've seen lesser calls made in the NBA, and it seems like it's. I don't know. I don't really understand why she gets because she's anywhere you go. Their tickets for Indiana are the highest tickets to buy to go watch a WNBA team play. She brought an audience there. They got a TV deal. They got all this money that's coming into the league because of people like her and a few other players. But she was a big part of that. And then.
Yeah, so...
and they all hate her for it.
It's ridiculous. And then Alex Caravan and Terrace Reed Jr. going in the late first round of the NBA draft. Caravan to the Sacramento Kings eventually.
Yes, drafted by Cleveland.
Traded to Sacramento.
Yep.
And then Terrace Reed Jr. drafted by Denver, traded to San Antonio, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm a little shocked at Caravan going late first round. Not really shocked at Reed. I figured that was about where he'd go. But any thoughts on that?
I just know that the Spurs got a lot bigger by getting him in there. So now you got him, you got Wemby. I mean,
Harper, Castle.
Yeah, I mean they got some really good talent on that team. So I think it's definitely going to help them next year. And Caravan going to the Kings, the Kings are not really. It's not going to help them. They're not going to go anywhere still.
No. I mean, Caravan will get you, we were just talking about, maybe, 6 to 8 points a game coming off the bench. And he's not going to be,
Yeah.
You never know. You never know what these players can turn into. Giannis, of course. Giannis Antetokounmpo traded to the Miami Heat earlier this week, not the Celtics. We'll break that down, see what's next for the Celtics and Jaylen Brown going forward. And then we'll talk some Sox as well, 3:35 with a pretty well-known Boston sports radio voice, Tim McKone from Zolak and Bertrand on the Midday Show at 98.5 The Sports Hub will join us. And before that, in just a sec, not yet, Matt, we're going to talk to longtime UConn men's basketball beat writer Dave Borges, who's got a new book. Dave, in just a sec. But first, big thanks to Dunkin'. They got so much, a $6 meal deal, the Dunkin' Refreshers. Of course, that beautiful drink that Matt's drinking over there, the Cloud Lattes, the Oreo Cloud Latte, the Rocky Road Cloud Latte, and make sure you check out your local Dunkin'. And then Matt Rupar, who always follows the Dunkin' Friday Sports Scene 405, he's got Homegrown. Tell us what's coming up.
I got this band T-Wreck, this other band Violent May, The Lonesome While, Shed Life from Old Saybrook, Afghan Haze, who I'm repping this week. And next week, I will have an interview with Tom Forst.
He's got interviews now, folks. Homegrown, every Friday at 4:05 here on WILI, brought to you by Eastern Insurance Associates. And now it's time to bring in our first guest of the afternoon here on the Dunkin' Friday Sports Scene. He was just on Wayno's show a couple weeks ago, and I'm driving into work one morning, and I go, I got to get Dave Borges on the Dunkin' Friday Sports Scene. Dave, Keith C. Rice, Nick Erlinson here. Thanks for a few minutes. Congratulations on the new book, by the way.
No, thanks a lot. Appreciate it, guys.
Dave Borges, of course, longtime UConn beat writer for the New Haven Register and now Hearst Media. And you've been covering the Huskies since 2007. The name of your new book is UConn Men's Basketball, an Illustrated Timeline. Let's just start. I know you've been covering the Huskies inside and out since 2007. What made you want to do the book?
Well, I was approached by Reedy Press, who is a publisher. And the funny thing is, I was in the middle of writing a different book that came out back in the fall, which chronicled kind of Dan Hurley's years at UConn, particularly the 2 championship years. And so this one was going to come out, obviously, afterwards. The history speaks for itself. It's such a great history. And we go back right to the very beginning with from the first team in 1903, I believe, and go all the way on through all the way to Braylon Mullen's shot, actually, in the loss to the Michigan in the final. So it is what it says. Illustrated. It's mostly through Getty Images, but a few from UConn and a few from my own camera, believe it or not. And I just wrote about 120, 140 vignettes for each photo, and it just covers their entire history chronologically.
And of course, you've been on the pregame show with Wayno a bunch of times too over that period. And what was that? Oh yeah,
absolutely.
So, what's been your favorite moment so far since 2007? And before that, we'll get into that a little bit later. Of course, you covered the 2004 Boston Red Sox, and we all know what happened there. But what has been your favorite moment? I know there's probably a bunch of them to choose from, but personally, what would be your favorite UConn men's basketball moment since covering the Huskies since 2007?
Yeah, it is hard to say. I mean, I've been fortunate. To cover 6 different Final Fours. I covered 4 national championships, 5 national championship games. So it's kind of silly how spoiled we all are, either fans rooting for the team or the writers covering it. I don't know. I guess you could always go with that 2024 team, which is so dominant. The way they just cruised through most of the season and the NCAA tournament, and ended up with 2 lottery picks, and Connecticut's own Donovan Clingan and Steph Castle, who's doing great in the NBA, and 2 more second-round picks now. And then Alex Karaban was the 5th starter, and he gets picked late in the first round the other night. So I guess I'll go with that because that team was just so great and fun to watch.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, right before we brought you in, Nick and myself were talking about the NBA draft and where Karaban and Reed went. I was just telling Nick, I'm a little surprised that Karaban went late first round. He kind of felt like a late second round, maybe even, I don't want to disrespect him, but he's a great player. Reed is kind of about where I thought. Were you a little shocked that Karaban went late first round?
I was a little surprised. I thought he would be more like early second, to be honest with you. I thought he had a good chance of getting in those somewhere in the 30s. But I know Sacramento liked him. It's one of the teams that Tom Moore, the general manager, mentioned a couple of weeks ago. With them, San Antonio liked him, and the Celtics liked him. And I know Sacramento was one of them. And when their pick came up, or when their traded pick, I guess, it made sense that he's going to be a first-round pick, which is what he wanted all along. Why he came back the last 2 years, obviously to try to win titles as well, but he really wanted to be a first-round pick, and he got his dream.
Now, sorry. What did you say is the coolest part of your job as the beat writer for the Huskies?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the Hearst Connecticut media is great in terms of providing the resources to cover this team, cover every road game, regular season, obviously in the tournament, Big East tournament, NCAA. Dan Hurley's a fascinating figure. It's been fun covering him for the past, 8 or 9 years. And I caught Jim Calhoun at the end. He was interesting. Kevin Ollie was, before things went awry, he did an excellent job. So I just think it's the continued excellence, really, of this program. It's just fun to kind of chronicle.
Let's talk a little about Coach Dan Hurley, a polarizing figure, no doubt about it. I mean that in the most complimentary, positive way. We love Dan Hurley and what he's brought to this area, the Stores basketball capital of the world. A couple summers ago, I believe it was 2 summers ago, when he flirted there with Kentucky and the Lakers. Did you think at one point he was Kentucky, I don't think he came really close to the Lakers. What was going through your mind through that whole process? And because you said you were thinking about doing a book on Hurley anyway, how close do you think he came to accepting that Lakers gig?
I don't think he flew out there. He met Jenny Buss and whoever the owner is, I forget his name. And it was close. But I shouldn't say that. I don't think it ever was going to happen. I mean, I do believe that he never fully intended. It's the Lakers, so you got to go out there. You got to listen. But he's happy as a college coach. He's the boss. He's everything at UConn. And the NBA, obviously, it's a player-run league, and with the Lakers, you got LeBron there, and draft my son and that kind of stuff. So, and he's a Jersey guy. He's an East Coast guy, as his wife is as well. So I didn't really think he was ever going to go, but he owed it to himself to at least go out there and listen.
Yeah, I think his wife actually probably made a big difference there in Kentucky and the Lakers, and she made it known. We did hear from Andrea, that's her name, right?
Yeah.
She definitely made it clear that, East Coast, Jersey, no Kentucky, no Lakers. So I think at the end of the day, Dan listened to his wife. Happy wife, happy life. Anyway, we're very happy he stayed because, what's your impression going into this season and how, continuing with Hurley, how he's worked the portal this year, Dave? Dave Borges with us, by the way. He's got a new book out, UConn Men's Basketball, an Illustrated Timeline. We'll talk more about the book in a sec. But, how was your impressions on Dan Hurley and the portal this offseason?
Yeah, he did it. He did what he usually does. He plugs in some needs. Got a couple of really good players in Najee Hines, a 6'11", physical center from Seton Hall, is a real good shot blocker, rebounder. The freshman this year at Seton Hall, I believe he led the Big East in blocked shots. I think he's a little raw offensively, but I think he'll be fine there. He's a potential first-round draft pick over the next year or two. And then they got a kid named Nick Hamenya, a 6'9" forward, to kind of replace Alice Caravan, which is kind of a tough ask for anybody, especially a sophomore. But he's a transfer from Duke, ironically, the team that UConn sent home in the Elite Eight in dramatic fashion. And he's a real good player. He's a former McDonald's All-American. So those two guys are going to be really good for them. They plugged in some holes as well. A couple of role players off the bench. And then a few guys who probably aren't going to see much time, but add to the practice depth to go with a couple of really good freshmen who should see time, and then the returnees in Mullins, Damari, and Jr. and Jaden Ross as well.
Dave Borges with us. He's got a new book. Dave is a longtime UConn beat writer for the New Haven Register and Hearst Media now. Is it CT Insider or Connecticut Insider? What do you call it? CT Insider?
Yeah, CT Insider. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay. And his new book is called UConn Men's Basketball, an Illustrated Timeline. Dave, how about some thoughts on the upcoming schedule? Early on in November, you got to give Hurley credit. The schedule he put together with some of these, these powers. I mean, he did it last year, but I think it's even a little more significant this year. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, I think this is the toughest schedule UConn men's basketball has ever played in non-league games. You have 4 or 5 teams that could be ranked up in the top 10, 15 in the preseason. You have national championship contenders. Of course, the rematch with Duke, the rematch with Michigan in Boston, Illinois again. So it's incredible. He deserves a lot of credit. When he first took over the program, obviously things weren't great, and he was very selective in the kind of non-conference games he would play. But as a team has continued to grow and become a return to a national powerhouse, he'll play anybody. And the thing is, as he'll mention many times, it's okay. You play these Big Six, Power 5 teams. If you drop one or two, it's not the end of the world. Mm-hmm. If you play one of, sort of a low major, and you lose that could really throw a monkey wrench in your whole season. So there's not a lot that, there's not a huge amount of risk really to playing these teams, and it's only a good thing, unless, of course, you drop them all, which I don't think will happen, but they'll certainly have their work cut out for them.
Definitely a good measuring stick.
Now, Braylon Mullins, he kind of had a coming out party a little bit last year in his first season. Do you feel he's going to have a lot of extra pressure this year? Or do you think... do you think he'll have extra pressure, or do you think the other guys are going to some of the other guys will take over some of his star shine?
Well, I think Silas Demery Jr. is a good shot at being the preseason Big East Player of the Year. The point guard who can score, who can really D it up, is tough, he's a leader. Braylon, as a freshman, had a very good year. Certainly had some ups and downs during the year. Wasn't shooting particularly well towards the end of the year, which kind of makes that incredible 35-footer all the more ironic. But I think he had a very good year for a freshman. He's an excellent shooter, and I think he'll be even better this year. He's going to be on the ball a little bit more this year. I don't think he's going to be asked to be more. He's going to take on the scoring load a little more, and I think he's up for it. He's a 6'5" athletic kid. He didn't really get to show the athleticism this past season either. More of a perimeter kind of guy. So, and he's going to be playing his natural position, the 2 guard, as opposed to having to play the 3 and bodying up and going for rebounds against bigger guys. So, a lot of things are in his favor this year. I think Braylon's going to have a very big year, absolutely.
Staying with Mullins, how close did he get to leaving the program? So did it get really close, or did you have a hunch he was staying the whole time?
Well, again, I definitely had the hunch. I mean, look, if he had gone and been like a lottery pick, top 14, 15, top 20 even, he probably could have made maybe more money than he's going to make at UConn. But with that shot, he's going to be in demand for a lot of NIL money this year in terms of advertising, endorsements, on top of all the regular stuff that he would have done anyway. So I think if you look at it monetarily, it made a lot of sense for him. And it's also a good chance for him to improve his stock even. I mean, people are looking at him as a potential top 5, top 10 pick next year. And if he plays well, he'll be there. It was a very competitive draft this year, so I think it made a lot of sense. I did think he was going to return, but I wasn't sure because obviously the lure of the NBA and the money is always there.
Great point from a monetary standpoint. Cha-ching, cha-ching, definitely for Braylon Mullins. And I think coming back is obviously a smart decision there. A couple more minutes here with Dave Borges, UConn Men's Basketball and Illustrated Timeline, his new book. It's the Duncan Friday Sports Scene on WILI. Talk a little about the book and then what exactly we shall see in this new book, and where can we pick it up and get it?
Well, it should be in stores now, or at least over the next few days. Barnes and Noble, all the excuse me, several local bookstores. It's available on Amazon, on Reedy, REEDY Press.com. I'll be doing several book signings over the next couple of months, and so that'll be great. But it was a fun thing to put together. And the one thing I took from it the most is the moments, but really just the shots this team, the huge shots this team has made over the years, from Braylon Mullins to Tate George and Jalen Adams and Kemba step back. I knew all these things, and I covered most of them, but you're reminded of just the incredible moments this program has had.
Absolutely. I'm definitely going to pick this up. I'm excited to read it because we, as you said earlier, Dave, we're just so spoiled, not just with UConn, but, the Red Sox, remember when they used to win not too long ago? Of course, the Celtics have, they've been pretty consistent for the most part. And, the Bruins had a title in there too. But I want to ask you this, because you're a Rhode Island native. You covered the historic 2004 comeback, Red Sox, Yankees, and then eventually snapping the so-called curse to win their first World Series title in 86 years. What was it like covering that? I mean, that had to be insane.
Absolutely insane. And the thing is, it was my first year on the beat. They had just created a traveling beat writer position to cover the Red Sox for a bunch of different papers in New England. And so I had no experience covering major. I covered the minor leagues, the Pawtucket Red Sox, but this was a whole different animal. And it took a while to kind of get in the groove. And it was just, I'm sitting there, and I grew up a Red Sox fan. So I wanted to see them win at some point, but in those ALCS games against the Yankees, down 3-0, and they're in the 8th inning, they're losing. I'm so tired. It's like midnight. I'm saying, you know what? Let's just end this season. And they wouldn't die. Fortunately, they had they were better about that than I was, and they pulled off an incredible miracle. So, yeah, I was very lucky to be able to chronicle that as well.
It's so funny that we're talking about this because, it's been a slow week sometimes, and I'll just talk with Nick. I really don't have time for TV, but I said, I got to pull up Fever Pitch. I haven't seen that in a while. So I watched a little Fever Pitch, and it brought back some great memories because, the Red Sox, I know they won last night, but come on, let's face it. It's been a depressing few years since 2018. But going back to 2004, I was at the 19-8 debacle. I was there and saw him go down 0-3, and then a week later, little did I know, I'd be at Game 2 of the World Series in the second bloody Sox game. So, 2004 is definitely a special year. I saw you're a Rhode Island native, but I didn't want to come right out and say, where are you with Sox? Because there are Yankee fans in Rhode Island, so I just wanted to...
oh, yeah. Many of them.
All right, Dave, thanks so much. We appreciate it. I can't wait to get my hands on this book again. Dave Borges, longtime UConn basketball beat writer. The name of the book is UConn Men's Basketball, an Illustrated Timeline. And we thank you so much for a few minutes here on the Duncan Friday Sports Scene.
All right, thanks, guys. Good talking to you.
All right, here he goes. Dave Borges does a great job. Enjoyed his work for years. That was like a great book. And he's right. I mean, UConn basketball, even the women, right now we're just focusing on the men. If you want to combine both for all that, I mean, it's just there's been moment after moment. That's why they call it the basketball capital of the world. It's absolutely insane. So,
yeah,
good to have Dave Borges on. I know he's been he was on with Wayno a couple weeks ago too, and I had to ask him about the 2004 Sox. Just what was it like to? I know a couple other people have covered that, and boy, that had to be a bucket list thing for a lot of beat writers. But all right, we got to take a break. I know J. Matt Rupar saying break time. On the other side. Well, speaking of Boston sports, we're going to bring in Tim McKone, one of the midday hosts on the Zolak and Bertrand show on 98.5, the Sports Hub in Boston. We'll talk to Tim in just a few. It's the Duncan Friday Sports Scene. Second half coming up on WILI.
Hi, this is Ian Eagle, and this is the Duncan Friday Sports Scene on 14 WILI and 95.3 FM.
Great having Ian Eagle, part of the Duncan Friday Sports Scene. We are back for the second half, and in just a few, we'll talk with Tim McKone from the Zolak and Bertrand show on 98.5 The Sports Hub in Boston. Kind of a big week for Boston sports. If you're a Celtics fan, like myself, are you a Celtics fan, Nick? I can't keep track of it.
Yeah, them and Orlando.
Two teams. How do you like two teams? That's going to be a whole other topic someday. You can't like two teams.
Well,
oh, come on. We'll get into that in a second.
I used to live in Florida. I got to have a Florida team and a Connecticut.
Florida team and a... Anyway, Giannis, we're a little disappointed as a Celtics fan. Yeah, he should have been with the Celtics. I think the Bucks are stupid.
I mean, if you're going to move Brown, then you might as well bring in Giannis. But, I mean...
So, I don't think it makes Miami an instant winner either, but, we'll get into all that. Things happen for a reason. Maybe Giannis wasn't meant to come to Boston, and the guy has had injury issues, but, but it's going to be interesting. That's why I can't wait to hear what Tim's take is on this. What's next with Jaylen Brown? But ready, Matt? All right, let's bring him in right now. A big fan of his work from the Zolak and Bertrand midday show, 98.5 The Sports Hub. It's bringing Tim McKone here on the Duncan Friday Sports Scene on 14 WILI 95.3 FM. Tim, it's Keith C. Rice and Nick Erlinson here. Thanks for a few minutes, buddy.
No, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Now, right off the bat, are you a Connecticut guy, or did you go to UConn? Did you have some Connecticut ties?
Yes, my whole family's from... I'm a Worcester guy, born and raised, but my whole family's from Newington, Connecticut, so I've been a lifelong UConn Husky fan.
There we go. We just had Dave Borges on before you, a longtime UConn men's basketball beat writer. He's got a new book out, and we were talking about that, so you're a big Husky fan. I knew heard you talk about the Huskies, and I figured I knew you had Connecticut ties. But right now, let's get into... we were just talking about it before we brought you in, the whole Giannis Antetokounmpo thing. How stupid are the Bucks for making this trade? First of all, and I'm not just saying taking my Celtics bias out of that. I know Pat Riley still can't stand the Celtics. We know that he'll do anything to avoid that trade or to stop that trade. But if you're the Bucks, it was just a dumb move, right? Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think when you look at it from Milwaukee's perspective, I'm of the belief that even if you didn't want to keep a guy like Jaylen Brown, who, by the way, is one of the 15 best players in the NBA, and so that's not a bad thing to build your franchise around. And certainly, if you're a fan of the Bucks, at least it gives you something to cheer for this coming season. But if you weren't going to keep him long term, I still think that you could flip him for a package that's even better than the one Milwaukee got. So I was really stunned, and it just felt like, to me, guys, that it was a trade that was trending in the direction where Giannis was going to wind up Boston Celtics. So I was certainly surprised when they decided to go with that Miami package. Like you said, it feels like Pat Riley just lives to make Celtics fans as miserable as possible, and mission accomplished again by Pat Riley as he swoops in and gets Giannis. But I'm with you. If I was in Milwaukee, a Bucks fan, I would have preferred certainly that Jaylen Brown package.
The only thing I can see that Milwaukee would do is because Tyler Hero is from the Milwaukee area, so they could sell T-shirts as his hometown hero.
Right? So yeah, you get a couple weeks of that, but you know what? I'd rather sell Jaylen Brown jerseys than the Tyler Hero T-shirts, because I don't know how much, after about 10 games, people are going to be pounding the table saying, hey, the hometown kids back home, because I think it's going to be a tough watch for Milwaukee fans here for a long time. And certainly you have those draft picks coming in future years, but you're talking about picks in the 2030s, and at that point, again, I think it's just going to be a frustrating 2 seasons here for Milwaukee fans. I guess the hometown kid is the one thing that they can kind of hold their hat on moving forward. But, man, I'll tell you what, if you're a Bucks fan and you're sitting there going, we're losing the face of the franchise, a guy that won a championship with us, 2-time MVP, and we had at least an opportunity to bring home sort of a household name in Jaylen Brown and have something to kind of hang our hat on, and we went in a different direction, I'd be disappointed.
Now, from a Celtics fan standpoint, even a Knicks fan standpoint, I'm not worried about the Miami Heat. I mean, they're not instant championship contenders. I don't look at it that way. I don't know about you, Tim, but Giannis and Bam Adebayo, okay, it's a nice tandem there. But I mean, seriously, who else Miami have left really after that trade?
No, I think it's a great point. And look, I mean, I'm not going to knock Giannis. The weather down there confirmed a lot nicer than it is up here in New England during the winters, right? So I understand that part of it. But I'm with you. If you go to Boston and you're Giannis, you're instantly one of a few handful of teams that can win the championship. If you go to Miami, yes, you're going to be a playoff team, certainly. But that roster, I think, is kind of built really weird with Bam and Giannis on it together. And I'm with you. I just don't think they're going to have enough depth there where they're going to be actually championship contenders. So if he's been frustrated in Milwaukee because they can't get over the hump and be in that championship conversation again, I'm not sure how much closer he's really going to be with that Miami roster the way that it is right now.
And we'll get to Jaylen Brown in a second, but there's rumors floating around. I'm sure you've heard them too. LeBron possibly popping up in Miami with his son. Roll my eyes. Cue the eye roll on that one. And then LeBron. But if you're LeBron, I don't want to get on a whole LeBron thing. Why would you finish in Miami? Okay, I know Giannis and Bam are down there. You played in Miami. But, why not wrap it up in Cleveland, the whole romanticism thing, if he is going to call it quits? But that's a whole other thing. Do you see LeBron popping up in Miami? I might as well ask you. I mean...
No, I'm with you. I'd be surprised if that's the direction that it goes. And it just felt like when he broke up with Pat Riley, I think we're used to Pat Riley getting his way when it comes to a lot of these things. And LeBron leaving felt like that relationship was kind of strained. So maybe they have patched things up. I'm with you. If he's going to go somewhere else, the Cleveland kind of storybook ending, and I guess third time's the charm, like this time he actually won't leave finally, if you're a Cleveland Cavs fan, that one to me makes a lot more sense than the Miami one.
And what did he do again in 2010? He sat down with Jim Gray. Was it Jim Gray? Remember, it was the decision. He'd do another decision. I'll never forget that in 2010. I'm like, give me a freaking break. All right. Anyway.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. All right. So Jaylen Brown. Let's we got to talk Jaylen Brown here because before the show, Nick and I were talking about how I love Jaylen Brown. I'm a huge Celtics fan, but ever since after Game 7 with the 76ers, he literally went online that night, I think after the game, and he hasn't shut up since. And it's just like, why is he talking so much? And it's just, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Tim? He's not shut. He hasn't piped down since.
Yeah, no, it's been a surprising offseason, and it feels like this relationship with the Celtics kind of come to an end, which I understand for Celtics fans is kind of frustrating. And I think part of it too is from a Celtics perspective, they might look at it, and with the new rules in the NBA when it comes to the second apron and some of the things that you're allowed to do with money, does it make sense to invest in two guys the way that it does, or the way that they have been with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, or does it make more sense to kind of spread that wealth around the rest of the roster and build something with a lot more depth attached to Jason Tatum? So I think that maybe there's been a philosophical change here with the Celtics and what they're trying to do, but I think the second piece of that, like you said, is that Jaylen Brown got a taste of having his own team with Jason Tatum not in the lineup this past year. And I think maybe he feels like he's kind of outgrown that, Robin role to Jason Tatum's Batman. So I think it's interesting because I think a lot of us thought that, the Giannis trade rumors were one specific opportunity for the Celtics to try to go out and grab a top 25 player, arguably of all time in the NBA, in Giannis, and that it would take a very special case to move off of Jaylen Brown. But the fact that we continue to get the trade rumors here with Jaylen Brown tells you that there's more behind this story, and that certainly it feels like that relationship in Boston between the Celtics and Jaylen Brown has kind of gone sideways a little bit.
Tim McKone from 98.5, the Sports Hub, joining us in Boston. Talk a little Celtics here, Giannis. We'll get to the Sox in just a sec. But the whole Jaylen, another thing that turned me off and pissed me off, what Jaylen Brown said, and I know you guys are talking a lot about up there, is the fact that he came out and said, this was my favorite year playing basketball. You just won the freaking title a couple years ago. You were the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, Conference Finals MVP, NBA Finals MVP. Why do you think that came out of his mouth?
It was a weird comment to make, right? And I'm with you. You win the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, you win the Finals MVP, you win a championship, by the way, like mission accomplished on that front, and then you come out and say that a season where you got bounced in the first round after blowing a 3-1 lead was your favorite season. I think that certainly rubbed a lot of people the wrong way in Boston, and I think it might have even rubbed some people in the organization the wrong way. I think it goes to show you, too, though, that he really enjoyed sort of being the guy on a team, and I think that's sort of the bigger picture when we kind of talk about if there's going to be a breakup between Jaylen Brown and the Boston Celtics. Why is it happening? I think that's a big reason why.
So if Brown is to get traded, do you have where do you see him potentially ending up? Do you hear some rumbling somewhere of?
Yeah, it's interesting. We've been talking a little bit about it because they certainly pivoted pretty quickly off of the Giannis thing, which again, to me, guys, is surprising. Like I really thought that it was going to kind of quiet down and they were going to try to mend some fences. It feels like that's gone in the opposite direction. Portland is one organization that's been floated out here this afternoon as a potential landing spot. As a diehard UConn fan, and that being the number one team that I follow, if there's a package that's going to come back that involves Donovan Clingan and some younger pieces as well, and that's the way that you're going to go, I would certainly be on board for that. And one of the reasons, guys, that they blew that 3-1 series lead to the 76ers this past offseason was because the front court just wasn't good enough. I know you guys know this. Donovan Clingan, pretty big guy, right? Would certainly help with the front court. Pretty decent size when it comes to Clingan. So if that's one of the pieces that comes back in a trade for Jaylen Brown, and you're talking about some other young pieces and some draft picks as well. And again, you try to kind of build that depth around Jason Tatum. That to me is intriguing because I really thought that Donovan Clingan, certainly a special college career, but in the second half of last year with the Blazers as well, it feels like the trajectory of his NBA career is really starting to take off here as well. And I think it would kind of be buying at a really opportune time right now if you're the Celtics and bringing the guy like that in.
It's a great points there. Yeah, I mean, Clingan has definitely stepped it up. And, big UConn. We're a UConn station here, too. And to see Clingan come back with some other pieces would definitely be huge. I didn't hear that, so that must have just been floating out. Did that just come out today? Because I've heard Evan Mobley's name flying around the past couple of days. But is the Portland thing kind of new now or what?
Yeah, so Shams Charania came out this afternoon. There's been some rumors also about a potential deal involving 4 first-round picks being sort of the bar here that Boston is looking for. The Detroit Pistons as another team that could potentially be interested, and then he also mentioned the Blazers as well. And if you're connecting the dots with the Blazers, I think front court help is going to be one of the things that they're really looking for in Boston. And Donovan Clingan, like I said, certainly as UConn fans know, he would check a huge box for that. And I know a lot of UConn fans were hoping that Terrace Reed, we were one pick away from potentially seeing a Boston reunion. I know everyone was kind of counting that down. I'm excited that he's going to be with Steph Castle in San Antonio, but man, Celtics fans were a pick away from having the opportunity to take him too.
Kind of dating myself when I say this. I know I'm a little older than you, but had flashbacks to Travis Knight when he played with the Celtics for a while. You know, I heard Travis Knight. We had some UConn players on the Celtics back in the day. But, I want to ask you this. One more thing about Jaylen Brown, then we'll move on to the Sox. Tim McKone, middays at 98.5, the Sports Hub in Boston, joining us here on the Duncan Friday Sports Scene at WILI and the WILI Radio YouTube channel. So, all right, give me, right now, coming this October, is Jaylen Brown in the starting lineup for the Celtics?
I don't think he is, guys. I don't think he's going to be a part of this team by this time next week. I think we're going to have a resolution here in the next few days, and I think it's going to wind up with Jaylen Brown going out the door. I wish I could give you more info on what team that is, but again, I just think the fact that the organization has pivoted so quickly to fielding and making more calls kind of tells you where this thing is headed. I think the relationship right now is kind of come to an end and run its course in Boston, and I think he's going to be on another team, like I said, by this time next week.
Yeah, and
which, by the way, now that I've said that, means that he's going to be a Boston Celtic for the next 10 years.
Wait a minute, no.
3 championships together. You know,
I want to give you credit, McKone. You made correct me if I'm wrong on this. I listen to you guys so much. I think you told Scott and Bertrand there back before the football season started. You said the Patriots were going to win 11 games. Am I right on that?
Yes.
And look what they did. I might have missed a show or two where you guys did. You give it back to them? Go, guys. You know, I'm sure they gave you credit, but you're the. I remember even shaking my head, going, "Oh my God, 11 wins. He's picking." But look at you. I mean, they went to the freaking Super Bowl. You had to feel pretty good about that prediction, right?
I know, broken clock, guys. Broken clock, right? Twice. You know, it is definitely that type of situation. But no, I wish, and I know a lot of Celtics fans do hope that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum did play their whole careers together. I just think right now, the way, just reading the tea leaves right now, it feels like it's going in a different direction.
And again, I don't think it's you get the vibe that him and Stevens get along. I even think he probably has a good relationship with Tatum, but it all comes down he wants to be the man. So that's the whole deal there. So I agree. I think his days in Boston are done. But we'll see what comes back. And I kind of like what Tim's talking about there, what Sham said, the whole Portland thing. So we'll keep an eye on that. All right, we got you for a few more minutes here. We appreciate the time. We got to go there. Let's talk about the Red Sox again. Cue the eye roll. It's so weird. This team can't come back to win any games. They fly back from Denver after a disastrous series with a team that's right next to them there, the bottom of the in the basement there, as far as Major League Baseball records, the Colorado Rockies. And then they trail the Yankees, and they come back to beat the Yankees, the first-place Yankees, in a game where everyone thought when they're up 4-2 they were going to, there's no way in heck they're going to blow that lead. I can't. We know this team is awful from top to bottom. I think the entire organization needs to be fumigated. Craig Breslow is saying they still can string together wins. Where would you start if you're in charge of the Boston Red Sox? What would you do? What would be your first move?
Yeah, for me, I mean, how much time do you have? I guess would be the right answer, right? If we're going to fix the Red Sox, but no, I think the first move is moving on from Craig Breslow, and I think it's not just to me the roster and the lineup, because obviously, if anyone that's watched the Boston Red Sox this year knows that the offense just isn't good enough, and it's not to the standard that obviously Red Sox fans are used to, but really a competitive Major League team, period, it should be fielding, and so there needs to be changes to the roster and the everyday lineup. But the biggest thing to me, guys, is that just the culture for the Boston Red Sox to me needs a full reset. And we go back to the communication issues going back to last year with Rafael Devers in the front office and that relationship falling apart. And then, the Alex Cora situation and some of the players at the end of that feeling like they didn't have their voices heard. And certainly you can make the argument that some of those players shouldn't have their voices heard with the way that they've produced. But there's just clearly a communication issue in the Red Sox organization. And I think you need to bring in a guy that certainly has a background in terms of having done this thing before, having experience under the belt, and building a contending team. And I think a lot of that starts with culture. And we were talking about the Patriots going to the Super Bowl this past year and nobody expecting it. A huge part of that, I think, was Mike Vrabel coming in and sort of resetting the culture there when it comes to the New England Patriots and putting in a level of expectation, professionalism, and really having an identity for what he wanted his football team to be. And when you talk about those three things, to me, the Red Sox just have none of those across the board. There is no identity for this Red Sox team. There is no sort of standard that you're supposed to live up to. And again, I think the communication has just been completely broken from the front office down. And so a full reset in terms of not only the way that they go about evaluating talent and putting together a roster, but also the way that they just go about business day in and day out needs to take place. And if they can kind of get that, and I'm making it sound like that's an easy step, it's not. It's a really, really hard thing to do, which, again, made what Mike Vrabel did with the Patriots even that much more incredible. But for me, to have to see that take place, you're going to have to see that take place if you have any hope that the Red Sox are going to be able to turn that around. Because I don't think it just is the lineup. I think it's really a whole culture reset.
Absolutely, and that's what scares me the most right there. I mean, if you're going to move on from Breslow, you got to go out and get a proven GM. Okay, where are you going to look for that? And it's, I heard there were rumors a couple weeks ago. There were, must have been some kind of wild rumor. They were looking at the San Francisco Giants organization, but you can't go out and get another nerd. I mean, that's going to follow Breslow. I mean, it's just. And I'm not saying Craig Breslow, let's face it, he's so robotic. Half the things he's just, he feels like he's not even talking to you. That's what's, and here's another thing where the Red Sox ruin the product. They've, they bring in, they should have never got rid of Dombrowski. And after that, there's there was like 8 or 9 guys that I heard denied interviews because they're afraid they're going to get canned in a few years. So I guess my question to you, Tim, is, where do the Red Sox look to replace Breslow with somebody with experience? And you said it yourself, that's a very hard thing. I wouldn't know where to look. I mean, they're just going to go after somebody's GM? I mean, what do you do?
No, I mean, and that's the scary thing, too, because if you're a GM and you have a choice of jobs here and you're looking at the organization, you go, well, wait a second. Dave Dombrowski put together the 2018 World Series team and was out of a job 2 years later. Yeah. And then Chaim Bloom had a short leash. And now Craig Breslow, 3 years in, is about to get fired as well. So why do I want to go to Boston when you're not going to give me really a fair shake? So you're going to have a conversation with whoever you bring in and really try to sell to them that this is sort of turning over a new leaf for the organization and it's going to be different and they're going to be in control and we really want you to take this thing over and run with it and build your vision. That's a tough sell for sure. And again, that's going to have to go to the communication piece of this with John Henry, which we all know he really hasn't exactly been the most vocal guy here in recent years. You bring up the Breslow thing, though, too. You were trying to move off of the nerd stuff with Chaim Bloom, like you talked about, and one of the selling points for Craig Breslow was that he was a former player and that not only did he bring sort of that analytical background, but he could also talk to players because he had been in major league clubhouses.
Right.
Turns out that could have been further from the truth, right?
Yeah.
Struggled communicating with these players even more so than Chaim Bloom did. And so you got to really fix that to me, too. Like, whoever you're bringing in here, like you said, is just going to have to be able to have conversations with people and just have the ability to just kind of talk to people. And we saw the report a few weeks ago when it came out with the struggles of Craig Breslow, where some people within the organization thought that he almost kind of needed a translator to talk to people. I mean, that's a scary proposition if that's the person that's kind of running your baseball operations, and that certainly can't be the direction that they go. But like you said, too, I mean, it's going to be a really tough sell for whoever comes in that, hey, if you come to Boston, this is going to be a really easy place for you to work. It's not. They're going to have to really sell that big time for whoever comes in and takes over.
With the Red Sox dwelling in the American League cellar, is there a trade deadline fire sale coming? And if so, who should they pursue?
I mean, that's the interesting thing, too, guys. Like, so you're going to have the trade deadline coming up. You're out of this thing. There's no way you're going to be in the mix in the second half of this season. So you're going to have to trade all of these pieces off the roster. I do expect that to happen. But who's in charge of that? Is it Craig Breslow, the guy that you're about to fire?
That's
if it's
scary.
not, and you fire him, who's in charge of that, too? I mean, that's one of the decisions, and it just kind of highlights, again, what a brutal spot the Red Sox are in. It's just so disappointing. I don't know about you guys, but man, it wasn't necessarily the offseason that I was hoping for the Red Sox, but I really, really thought coming off of last year that we were going to be in for a really fun, exciting Red Sox season. And really, it feels like since opening day on, it's been nothing but disappointment. And so to be in this spot coming off of the year that you had last year is stunning and disappointing, to say the least.
Absolutely. We're going to wrap it up with Tim McKone in just a sec here. But, yeah, that's the most important thing. Who's ever, as Nick just asked, well, if they're going to make moves, I have completely zero faith in Craig Breslow making these moves. And that's where it starts off with the Red Sox. Decision making. And, John Henry doesn't seem, and we know Theo's there, but he's in the background saying stuff every now and then. By the way, Chaim Bloom was a Theo guy. Craig Breslow was a Theo guy. And Theo's saying, well, it's not working. All right, Theo, thank you. Well, if you're going to talk, why are you opening your mouth then? I mean, I love you, Theo, but geez, can Theo come back and save the Red Sox? I mean, this is ridiculous.
Look, it's a great point, and I wish that was the case. I find it hard to believe, and I guess it's understandable, right? You break those two curses for Theo, you're just kind of done with the day in and day out stuff. You say, mission accomplished, I'm not doing it, but you're right. Those are two of his recommendations, and when I think about people about as far away from the success that Theo had, it's probably Chaim Bloom in Craig Breslow, that's for sure.
Unbelievable. Tim, we got to run, and it was a pleasure having you on. Keep up the great work middays with Zolak and Bertrand there on 98.5 The Sports Hub. And Connecticut native Tim McKone with us. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
No, you guys are awesome. Thanks for having me, and go Huskies.
Yeah, you got it. All right. Great to have him on and give us a little perspective on the Giannis thing, talk a little UConn and Red Sox as well. And they do a great job up there at 98.5 The Sports Hub. So big thanks to Dave Borges, our earlier guest. He's got the new book out. Once again, it's UConn Men's Basketball, an Illustrated Timeline. And again, Tim McKone from 98.5 The Sports Hub. So now, it's kind of a slow time of year. Red Sox stink. By the way, they play the Yankees at 6:10 tonight on WILI. Mets have a new manager. They're hosting the Phillies. So you got some little, Red Sox, Yankees, no matter how bad the Red Sox are, it's always somewhat entertaining.
NFL training camps open in about a month, so you can talk Patriots pretty soon.
That's right. Once we get past the boombox parade, it's time to start talking football soon. But all right, thank you, Nick, and we'll get you. Actually, no show next week. Little programming, no show next week since it's like technically a holiday here, the day before the 41st annual WILI 4th of July boombox parade. So we'll talk to you on it'll be July the 10th. July the 10th. Thank you, J. Matt Rupar. Stay tuned for him next with Homegrown. Enjoy your weekend, and thank you for listening. Don't forget WILI Radio on YouTube to watch the show. Have a good weekend.